Welcome to the League. Welcome to another episode of The League, a DBNC business talk show where bold ideas meet bottom lines and doing business in Nigeria moves from potential to playbook. I am Coach Linda Onezi, your host. Today we are joined by a strategic operator in the business space, someone with over 15 years experience, who is changing how businesses operate efficiently, intelligently, and with wisdom. We are joined by the MD and founder of Distinct.ai in the person of Mark Igbinedion.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mark, for joining us today. And again, thank you as well for being a speaker at the last Doing Business in Nigeria conference.
No worries. I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. Your segment was very interesting.
Thank you so much.
You engaged with the audience.
Thank you.
It was quite, I think I gave you that feedback already. Exactly. So today we're talking about, we want to just touch on some of the skills that Nigerian businesses need today. Just because of your background, you have been very active as, a business founder in the human capital acquisition space, and you also utilize technology to make that happen, for businesses. What would you say would be, if you're to list the top 3 skills that Nigerian businesses are looking for today, what would that be?
Okay, so from obviously the trend now, everybody's gearing towards AI. So data analysis is a huge skill that businesses are looking for at the moment on a global scale, to be completely frank. So data analysts, data scientists, people that can build ML models, understand, interpret data, give accurate references and guidance to businesses for getting into new markets or trying to grow and scale. That's one. I also think that digital marketing is a massive skill that people are looking for, because obviously everything's coming online now. So you're in a space that if your business is not online, if you're not seen, whether you're a personal brand or a business, companies don't recognize you, people don't want to engage with you. So that's huge. So, digital marketing, social media is a massive skill that, but everybody's looking for, whether it's all personal businesses. And then of course, across the board sales. I think sales is massive. People being able to build relationships with people, being able to build relationships with their customers. I think that's a massive thing that, businesses are looking for. And I think that people should focus on, having that ability to be able to build rapport with people and get people to buy into you as a person or buy into the business or the product that you're trying to sell.
Absolutely.
I think that's really crucial.
Relationship skills,
yeah,
I'd say, very
exactly.
key. Because really, to get people on board, you have to be able to convince and influence. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
Convince or influence.
Yeah. Convince.
You should be a salesperson. You are actually, aren't you?
I am. I can sell anything, but that's a joke. Okay, so my next question to you: there has been a lot of discussions about AI replacing human jobs. From your point of view, as someone who is positioned as an AI company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Distinct.ai, AI, that's artificial intelligence.
So yeah,
correct?
Data, intelligence, artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Would you say that statement is true or false?
So for me, it depends on the job, but 100% true.
Okay.
It was quite interesting. I was actually having this discussion yesterday evening at dinner with a few friends, and we were speaking about the fact that if there's not regulation, then there'll be mass job losses on a global scale, because there'll be a lot of roles and functions that businesses will just automate. Because if you look at, automation, let's see, I looked at automation back in 2017. It's about automating systems and processes to automatically run without anybody interacting with it. And that's where machine learning, started really being able to help, really. When you're looking at data, when you're looking at data points, you sort of analyze it and look for trends and look for guidance as to what, you can impact a market or, take decisions. So making data-driven decisions. So 150%, I think that, AI will help people get better in their jobs, but it will also take certain jobs like automatic functions, customer support, customer service. It's already happening. A lot of platforms, they have bots that you interact with. I know MTN does that. You have a bot that you interact with for quite a bit until you interact with a human. So obviously some companies and stuff do even more. It's a real big thing, but it will happen. How quickly, how soon, we don't know. But I think people need to become a bit more savvy and start using soft skills to improve, because it's the soft skills that a machine will ever be able to replace.
Absolutely.
That building, what we talked about earlier, building rapport, relationship management. I would still much rather speak to a human for certain things than a bot. But yeah, I've what we're doing with Distinct, we're running a really lean team and automating as much as possible when it comes to client onboarding, client engagement, even customer support. We're automating that because, putting in enough answers that people could possibly have to questions that they don't even need to interact with a human. So, it's happening.
Do you think there is a knowledge gap as regards the use of technology, especially for really small businesses like the micro businesses and nano as well?
Yeah. I think it depends on who's running it. Because what I've seen from my favorite generation, Gen Zs, in Nigeria is they're very tech savvy.
Yeah,
a lot of them, there's a knowledge gap, I think, in Nigeria anyway on a mass scale, but there's a lot of them who are using technology to improve their businesses. But in certain sectors, yes, I believe that there's a massive gap when it comes to technology, and there's initiatives out there, but there needs to do a lot more to sort of expose people to technology and give them the skills that they need, because a lot of the people in Nigeria who are sort of tech savvy are quite self-taught, because if you look at the schools, they're still doing a lot of teaching via books and stuff like that, which is just not going to fly in this day and age. So I think a lot of people are quite tech savvy, but yeah, there is a huge gap, I would say.
Okay, so that's an interesting perspective, and it's a fair statement to make, actually. So what about in recruitment? Do you think AI is addressing the bias that you find in traditional recruitment? Yeah. How is it helping to address that on a larger scale?
I love that question. Thank you so much for that. So one of the reasons why I started Distinct was because I saw the bias that I even use when I'm hiring people. Because we go off vibes, and inshallah, sometimes we're in a good mood and you meet somebody, the guy says something you like. I remember I was interviewing his digital marketing candidate, funnily enough, and I asked him for his favorite superhero, which was Batman. It was my favorite superhero. So the rest of the interview didn't really matter what he said. He couldn't do any wrong. And I was actually laughing about it the next day with my head of people in operations, and she was like, "Oh my God, Mark, I just know you love that guy because he said Batman." And that was it. Every other interview after that, I didn't really pay attention. We didn't end up hiring the guy. We couldn't agree on a salary, but it just shows you the type of bias that I've seen. I've said it before, I don't want to sort of say it plainly, but even when I was doing recruitment in London, there'll be certain candidates that I would avoid for certain reasons, and that was purely bias.
Yes.
So as a business, we're using data to help people make better decisions. So candidates, when it comes to getting matched to jobs, because I do feel like a lot of candidates take jobs that are not suitable for them. And you do that job, you work on that, you work in a job that's not suitable for you for 2 months. And if you're looking for a permanent job, that has a negative impact on your CV.
Absolutely.
You know that as a HR person.
Absolutely.
If I'm hiring for a permanent role and somebody's worked somewhere for 2-3 months, that's it. It's instant disqualification. And that person could have a valid reason that they did that. But if they don't get a chance to speak and showcase themselves, then
they're already
disintegrated.
Yes.
So there's a lot of biases that are involved. When it comes to, I've seen a lot of tribe bias in Nigeria, where people want to hire people based on tribes or where they come from.
Sometimes even gender.
Yeah, and gender biases. In certain roles and stuff, people believe that women can't do those roles if they work late nights and stuff like that, and that won't always be the case. So as a platform, we interact with people, get them to take tests, get them to upload videos, and we profile those videos using AI. And our models look for particular answers or keywords in answers, or analyze those answers based upon predetermined skill sets that are suitable for that role, and it shortlists people based on that. And I know a lot of candidates don't like to take tests, and they don't like to upload videos, and they want the shortest, fastest way possible to apply to a job.
Absolutely.
But the problem is only 10% of applications even get viewed. So if you get 1,000 applicants for a job, only 100 get viewed. So more often than not, the application doesn't even get viewed. So what's the point in that? Why not integrate or interact for a bit, 40 minutes, and then you know from there you'll definitely get matched to a job. Absolutely. So that's what we're looking at. There'll still always be a need to headhunt, as you know, for certain key roles, C-suite and
senior roles.
You know, where you have to sort of build rapport and get to understand those people. But when it comes to the majority of roles, I think that, you know, AI and data and testing and intelligence is a much more efficient way to do that. And I'm a recruiter, you know, I've been in the talent space for 15 years. I've been doing this, and I've used bias myself, and I've seen companies use bias. So for me, this is a bulletproof way to prevent that.
You know, I'm in recruitment as well.
Yeah, I know.
You know, we also, through my business, Morizandro Solutions, we handle recruitment for different organizations, and you even see the client communicating their bias as well.
Yeah, of course.
And that's something that you have to deal with back end, because as a responsible recruitment firm, that's not, you can't project that information to the public, because then they're not seeing your client, they're seeing you. Yeah. Right? So it will be assumed that the bias is coming from you. So I mean, what you're doing with technology is really interesting. And for the founders that are listening in, right, what would be your take on hiring family members and friends?
So the problem with that is that, you know, there's a level of trust you get when you hire a friend or family member, but then I feel that there's certain things that you can't tell them or push them to do. And there is a lot of bias in that, really, isn't it? And nepotism that you do with that, especially if you've got other team members. You know, I've hired people I know personally before to, on a quick basis, like, oh, I really need somebody.
How did that work for you?
No, it didn't work out. Because you end up seeing people in a better light when they're your friends and family. Absolutely. It's like a little light shines behind them, you know, a brighter light, and you believe that they're better than they are. And then when you see them in the act, you're like, whoa, I didn't realize this was the case. So I've been burnt a few times where I've hired people quickly, come and do a few weeks work for me. They start and I'm like, my word, like, you know, what were you doing in your last role? So that's really crucial. So I definitely think that that's a difficult one and something to avoid.
So let's talk about skills from the founder's perspective. I know you earlier mentioned relationship as a skill that is needed. You also touched on sales, right? I think use of technology as well. But in Nigeria, right, people say running a business here is not that easy. You know, we hear that a lot. It's not a piece of cake. But I also think that running a business anywhere in the world is not easy, really.
Facts.
To be honest. So, but we have certain challenges that we have to navigate here. Sometimes even man-made, you know, and sometimes structure as well. So what other skills do you think founders of businesses need today to survive? Survivor can also mean, I always say, exiting to the next phase or to something else, but just to survive generally and, you know, grow a business. Yeah,
great question. So, like you said, being an entrepreneur anywhere in the world it's a very lonely, difficult journey. And it requires a lot of resilience. And in Nigeria, a lot of patience. Because things really do take time.
Absolutely.
I remember before I moved here, and one of my family friends said to me, you know, it really takes time to to get anywhere in Nigeria. I'm like, what is that? You know, you don't know who I am. Don't worry, I'll do this. And you know, you get there, and you see it, and you're like, whoa, like
this is true.
Yeah, it's true, because people take a while to trust you, and you know, I'd say sales in anywhere in the world is tough, but in Nigeria, people won't buy from you unless they've met you. Unless they trust you a little bit, they just won't buy from you. Anyway, that's how I felt it. You know how it is, like relationship, or people have introduced you. You meet people first, and you sit down with them. They see you, they try. This guy won't run away with my money or stuff like that. So, you know, there's an element of you know. So it comes back to relationship management, but sort of being able to build trust, being able to be patient in what you're doing, really understanding your market. I think that's really crucial. I think a lot of founders here get into things without truly understanding their market and their customer. So if you don't understand your market or your customer, how do you fully understand the need?
Absolutely.
And having some skin in the game. I wouldn't have, you know, I worked in my industry for 6 years before I started the business, and I don't think I would have started the business without working in the corporate world for a while. And I think I would say that teaches you a lot of the skills that you need to build a business, that operational experience about the different functions of a business.
Absolutely.
You know, when it comes to accounting, when it comes to budget management and stuff like that, you know, so, you know, that key understanding, I would say, comes from having that work experience. So don't get into something without understanding your market. You know, take your time, be patient, you know, have some resilience, you know, be very good at relationship management, very good at sales, and some good leadership qualities, you know, because I feel that there's a lot of bad leaders. I mean, I haven't been a great leader. I think I've made mistakes over the years, but there's a lot of bad leaders here.
For you to identify that you've made mistakes, that shows that you're not a bad leader.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So having that leadership qualities, not managerial, but leadership, leading by example, and getting people to be able to buy into your vision so that they can work with you and not work against you.
Yeah.
You know, because I see a lot of, I've spoken to a lot of founders who have challenges with their people, and it's because the people are working against you. You know, I've made some mistakes, but I've had some teams who have been ready to go to war for me, just purely because of the simple fact of I don't tell them what to do, I show them what to do, and I lead by example.
That's very important. To transparency as well.
Yeah, communication.
Exactly, very key. So one of the things that I find very interesting with our nation is the fact that we say we just like one big family. I think, Val, what's the word for that? Exactly, you know, like we live as one community, but at the same time, we have trust issues, you know, and in your interactions with various clients and stakeholders over the years, have you found that to be true?
Massively.
And how? Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that?
So my first business, Productive People here, was, you know, similar to service-based business. So in Nigeria, people don't value that as much as they did in, let's say, the UK, and not always willing to pay for it because it's like, why would I pay you when I can just hire my brother from down the road? Why would I pay? You know, so you know that's element of that. So there's, you know, there was a lot of needing to go against the grain, and you know, I remember when I first started, people were like, cold calling won't work in Nigeria. I said, I'd be able to do it. So I remember going to an asset management company. I bought a list of names and numbers. I sat in the office and I just went like this. Just bashed out.
Does that still work?
It worked.
It still does?
I've still got relationships to this day with people, from cold calling.
That's interesting.
It was lucky for me though, because I had the packaging, you know, the surname, the British accent and stuff like that. You know, so it's true.
Can you hear that?
It's facts.
Real talk.
I remember one of my team members.
Packaging is key, as long as you can back it up with value.
Exactly.
So very key. I do agree with you.
And that's a big, we'll sort of go back and forth. That's a big problem in Nigeria because there's a lot of focus on the packaging without the delivery. So it's like this whole luxury thing. Everyone talks about a luxury. You go into a flat and you're like,
and then
you haven't even painted it.
Exactly.
You know, so nobody really focuses on excellence. So yes, of course, I had the packaging, but we focus on excellence. We turned over any role within 72 hours, any role, for a period of 3.5 years.
Amazing.
You know, so, and everybody that I hired, I drilled into them the work ethic that I needed to make sure that you focus on delivery first over anything. You know, even the simple facts of when you picked up your work phone, you picked up the phone, you said, "Hello, good afternoon, productive people."
I love that.
I said, "I'll choke you with the phone."
I love that.
You call a company and it's like, "Hello?"
Exactly.
Am I calling this company? Why are you, why are you picking up the phone like this? But the companies don't teach these things.
Absolutely.
And so, there was a difficulty at first. A lot of people are a bit standoffish, but when they met me, when I proved myself, when I delivered and I consistently delivered, people started to trust me. Mm-hmm. And now people approach me for business and I turn away business. I choose who I decide to work with.
Absolutely. We do that as well. Yeah, I do that as well. I don't say no to every business.
Yeah, because
I don't say yes rather. Yeah,
because a lot of companies have the wrong ethos when it comes to hiring. Absolutely. Even when it comes to the way they pay, the way they treat their people. So I have to be able to, because if you put somebody a wrong opportunity there and they leave, it's going to be difficult for you. So I think that there's a lot of issues and you get a lot of trust issues. But if you're able to deliver, especially in a time where people are in need. Like I need somebody by Monday and you call you on Saturday and I deliver that person by Monday. Magic.
Yeah, magic indeed. So that's interesting, Mark. When you were talking about relationship skills, I just remembered we actually met via LinkedIn.
Yeah, we did.
And we've connected ever since then, and now this is actually we're working together, I would say. So yes, it's a critical skill to have as a founder. It's also a critical skill to have when you're looking for a job as well.
100%. In anything.
In anything, exactly. In anything. So very interesting. So Mark, can you just share a time where a hiring practice or process helped with a company's success? It could be your company, it could be that of your clients as well.
Yeah. So I remember I actually got this from a client that I was working with. He had working interviews. So during the interview process, he would invite the candidates in to meet the team and have a few drinks. And I remember I introduced the candidate to him, and during that period, it went bottoms up during that period. And he didn't end up hiring the candidate because during that period of time, outside of the typical interview process, after a few drinks, you sort of see something about somebody where they show a bit more of their true colours because everybody puts their best foot forward during the interview, during that 20-30 minutes. I always say to people, are you going to start dating somebody after meeting them 30? Some people do. Some people do. But you can start dating somebody after meeting them for 30 minutes. Do you learn everything about somebody after 2 dates? Of course you don't.
Of course not.
So he implemented something within the interview process to take the candidate out of their comfort zone or a comfort zone and be a bit more likely to show their true colours. And that really helped him. And I started using that internally, and that really helped me during my most successful period of time, like productive people, where I'd bring people in, I'd get them to sit and work with my team. So we'd assess the way that they would gel with the team, because that's such a crucial aspect, especially when you have a small team. We had about 10 people at the time, and you want everybody to be able to coexist. The characters need to be quite similar. Absolutely. So everybody can function together. So I utilized that internally for quite a while, and that gave me amazing results. So it means that everybody I hired, even though I interviewed them, my HR or ops would interview them, but my team would also have a time to spend with them to decide, and they would see my team, and my team would decide if they could work with our work culture, because my work culture is very, self-sufficient. I'm not a micromanager, and I'm not going to give you that much advice, And if you don't work hard, I'm the worst person to work with. But if you work hard, I'm brilliant. I'll just let you do what you want to do. So, if people didn't fit into my work culture, they wouldn't be successful. So that was a very interesting process that we implemented that really helped us become successful and avoided hiring mistakes because it gave us the opportunity to see people in their element and a bit of themselves after a few drinks. And it was really quite good. It's a bit unconventional.
Yeah, it is. So I actually like it. It's quite interesting. Even if you don't have people with similar characters, you just want people that have similar values.
Yep.
You know, who can work together and coexist.
Yeah.
You know,
take ownership. You
ownership
want
as
the right
well.
Personality traits, especially as especially as a small business.
Absolutely.
You know, people being able to go above and beyond. And we had this writing on our wall, and it was higher character, trained skill. And character is so important. If people don't have the right character or the right work ethic, it's going to be very difficult. And if you put a bad apple in your team, they can end up dragging your team down.
Absolutely.
And bringing toxicity, and you end up having to, it can set you back months.
I'm telling you.
So this hiring trait to really be able to pull out somebody's true character during the interview process is really, so that's where this testing comes in, because you can sort of see people's innate skills. Or, you know, try working interviews, take them for a drink, give them a few beers, don't get them drunk. Don't quote me here, but you know, just get them drunk. Yeah.
Okay. So is there a skill, or rather, do you have trainings that are focused on building characters currently? Because that's something I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to know. Yeah. It's new. Yeah. Right?
So it sort of goes back to the soft skills we spoke about earlier, and encouraging people to focus on your soft skills and focusing on developing those soft skills, and the type of soft skills that, you know, companies welcome. Stuff like integrity,
absolutely,
enthusiasm, ownership, you know, taking ownership, accountability, all of these things that, you know, companies really want, and companies will appreciate these skills and these character traits. So I always say that people can't change their characteristics, but you really can if you want to.
Absolutely.
If you really have a genuine desire to improve, you will be able to improve. Yeah. You know, so there's a number of soft skills training that I'll be launching as a coach. You know, I'm a coach like you. As a
hi, fellow coach.
Thank you so much. As a professional coach, so I'll be promoting them over the coming weeks. And as a business distinct, there's a lot of soft skills. And you talked about, you know, what AI won't be able to take, and it won't be able to take those soft skills. You know, those soft skills are going to be, it'll be difficult. Eventually, it will.
Yeah. You know, so please, when you launch the platform, just let us know so we can also communicate to the community.
Okay, perfect.
And tell them where to go to access those.
Yeah.
Awesome, Mark. It's been interesting talking to you.
Thank you very much, Linda.
It's always a pleasure, you know.
Always.
But before you go, I have just one last question for you.
Okay.
If you have 120 seconds in a room filled with overwhelmed entrepreneurs, what would be your final words? And I want you to look into the camera and talk to them.
Take it easy. I think that is the best advice I can give you and give myself. You know, take it easy, take a step back. Things take time. Anything good in life takes time. To be an expert in anything takes time. You know, so it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of sacrifice. So don't put too much pressure on yourselves, and don't look up too soon, too quickly. Don't look too ahead and look at the Tony Illuminous of the world and think that it happens overnight. It really doesn't. So take time, take a step back, understand yourself, understand your market, and really take time to process and build slowly. And, you know, even when it comes to like raising money, don't raise money too quickly. So take your time, build slowly, build your audience, build your relationships, and it will come if you really believe it.
I love that. Rome, they say, was not built in a day.
Amen.
So, really you know, success, you might not achieve that overnight. So just take it easy. That's a good advice, Mark.
Take it easy, take your time.
I'm taking that as well.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. I'm holding that to my chest.
I'm even saying it to myself. Take it easy, take your time.
Take it easy, you know, take your time. So thank you once again, Mark. And I'm hoping that when next we invite you, you'll say yes.
Definitely.
Awesome. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us today. It's been an interesting session talking to the founder, CEO of Distinct.ai, Mark Igbinedion. My name is Linda Oneze, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.